Hi everyone, my name is Kerri Glover, and I'll be giving you a presentation today about super site tours that sell. First, just a little bit about me, why I'm giving this presentation. This is my 27th year in the wedding industry. For the first 16 years, I was a wedding planner, and I built the largest planning company in Colorado, and then I sold it in 2016. And from the beginning of my career until now, I've actually built, designed, and launched 27 wedding venues. I'm working on my 27th right now. And I'm a wedding venue owner myself at Maison Albion, which is a beautiful venue in Western New York. And I have authored a book called The Business of Love, How to Build and Operate a Successful Wedding Venue. And this presentation is actually a presentation version of one of the sections of the book. It's full of information about marketing, sales, venue design, building, legal, operations, staffing, everything that you could possibly need. It's kind of like a textbook to not only improve the existing wedding venue you have or build one from scratch. It's available on Amazon in the ebook format and paperback if you're interested. I'm also a wedding venue consultant. I've helped to this point about 400 wedding venues across the country with their marketing, sales, operations. I currently oversee and run the marketing and sales for 5 wedding venues in the United States. And so I talk to about 300 to 400 engaged couples a day through text, email, multimedia, phone. And I'm also a wedding venue broker, a mergers and acquisitions advisor with weddingvenuebroker.com. So if you know someone who's interested in selling their wedding venue, please have them contact me. I'd be happy to help with business valuations as well as selling their property. So let's get started. On the agenda today, we're going to be talking about the confirmation and then also the first impression, the welcome, of course, the site tour itself, and the follow-up. And this is just a little introduction to my firm, my consulting firm, Flourish. We are constantly analyzing the effectiveness of our site tours, and that's how it's helped us get to this point of mastering site tours that really close and really sell. And it's essential that your entire site tour experience exudes the brand of your venue. Having a distinct brand is very, very important. It's not just enough to have a beautiful space. You have to have that authenticity, that brand voice. And then this is about learning how to shape what the couple's looking for into what your venue offers, custom in every tour. I love this quote from Richard Branson, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. That's very true. I got some very good advice when I first started the wedding industry, just about the fact that you have to really trust your gut when it comes to couples you're meeting with, families you're meeting with. And it always feels like, especially when you're a new venue, that you have to take every booking that comes through your doors. That's not the case. If you see red flags, they're asking questions that make you nervous, that they're trying to edit your contract, run like your hair is on fire. If it's not a good fit, there's always going to be another wedding. And no one ever looks back, at the end of October, like, wow, we just wish we had 5 more weddings. We're all exhausted. There's enough for everyone. And this presentation is all about finding the right couples for you and really increasing your revenue and not missing any opportunities to close. So let's just talk about the high-level timeline of a site tour. First, of course, you've got the inquiry, the site tour confirmation, the site tour itself, the proposal or follow-up. Then you've got proposal, follow-up, and text communication, and then the signing or the release of the date. So let's talk a little bit about the confirmation and the processes that you'll go through all prior to the actual site tour itself. So you're always going to want to be asking in your communication. We use an amazing software called Bloom, which actually my husband designed, which is an app and a software that creates curated customer lead management journeys for each of the venues that we manage. And then he has a bunch of other venues that use it as well. And it's really fantastic because it's all automated, but it's in the brand voice and it's constantly asking for that site tour. And then, of course, you want to make sure you enable site tour bookings on your website so that, this generation, they want to book a site tour at 2 a.m. And it's just lovely waking up to my email inbox with 3 site tours booked. And I didn't do a thing. It's fantastic. You can set your availability and be really excited that they have that independence that they can book and coordinate with their other family members to get the right time that they'd like. Make sure that all the email follow-ups that you're having, all the communications that you're doing, the text messaging is always asking for that site tour. And as a very last ditch effort in your communication, make sure you have a beautiful virtual site tour recorded that you can send to them in your communications in hopes to grab them once they are able to watch that virtual site tour. Then you want to confirm, of course, your email confirmation should include a list of really amazing small businesses that they can visit on the way and from your site tour. So places to stop and eat lunch, grab a bite of coffee, do a little bit of shopping. Just shows that you're part of a community, especially if you're a venue in a rural area. You want to draw their attention to that, make it more charming than it is a pain that you're not in the city. If you want some extra brownie points, create a custom playlist that they get to listen to on the way to your site tour and put that in the confirmation as well. And then make sure you have a text confirmation either the day before or the day of that requires a response from them. It will really reduce your no-call, no-shows. Then in order to prepare, you want to design a refreshment that's very much on brand, something that's easy to store and easy to replenish, but just constantly thinking about that brand. And then you're going to prepare your new client packet and the preliminary worksheet, which we'll talk a little bit about later in the presentation. When you arrive, you want to make sure you arrive at least 30 minutes early to your first site tour. Walk the entire property route, so there's nothing that's a surprise for you on the site tour. Make sure your music is on, fireplaces, candles, all the lights are on, your signature scent is going, music. And then prior to their arrival, make sure you do a little bit of research, Google your couple if they're Googleable. Fill out the preliminary worksheet with as much information as you have, and just be ready to welcome. You need to leave your outside life at the door and be focused on what's happening in that room and be ready to present and welcome to them. The first 5 minutes are where your impressions are made. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you first drive into your property on site tour day, make sure that you are experiencing everything about the property. You know, are there bumps in your driveway? Is there something funny happening out front? Your plants? Is the parking spot easy to find? Just be ready to welcome them. The first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes are the most memorable for your clients. So those are where your impressions are made. And this is your one opportunity to win. So you need to sparkle. You have to make the effort, meaning music needs to be on in every applicable room. Maybe some really upbeat music in the getting ready spaces, something more classical in the reception spaces, that sort of thing. Make sure all of your lights are on. If you have a lot of chandeliers or light fixtures, all the bulbs need to be replaced. Your candles need to be burning or your scent needs to be on. You need to have tables in your reception room set up. It does not need a full reception setup, but it needs at least a few tables so couples feel like they're not walking into an empty space, but they understand like any wedding of any size that you've welcomed there would work in that space. And if you can set up a small ceremony, amazing. That's probably weather related, but if you have outdoor spaces for your ceremony, if you can set up just a few chairs and a beautiful wedding arch, it gives them a concept, gives them that feeling of walking down the aisle, helps them fall in love a bit. And then make sure your construction projects are away and hidden. It's easy to go eye blind at your own venue to like a ladder that's been sitting out for a week, but really try to focus on like that garbage can shouldn't be there. Garbage cans are the worst. I see those a lot on site tours. Like put them away. There's no place for them on a site tour, neither ladders or construction projects. Remember, you have to put your best foot forward and it takes some extra effort, but it's worth it. The welcome is important. You want to make sure that you are on brand with your refreshments. You have to choose a refreshment that welcomes your couple and really evokes your brand. The top left is actually a photo of the refreshment that we offer at Maison Albion, our venue, and our theme and our brand is very like French country meets like more of a modern aesthetic. I don't know. It's a very traditional old fashioned, but it has a fun, flirty kind of attitude. So we do custom sugar cookies and we have water and champagne. But even if you're doing like sweet tea or just like some water, just make sure that you've got that all brewed and ready to go. Take everyone's coats as they arrive. Please point to the restroom right away because some of them had a long drive. Just be as hospitable as you possibly can and invite them down and pour them a drink, just even if it's a glass of water. It's so lovely. Make sure that you practice polishing your greeting. Shake everyone's hand. Have extra folded chairs ready if you have that kind of space, because sometimes people show up with 8 guests and you had no idea they're bringing this many people to the site tour. Try to make note of everyone's name on the preliminary worksheet much as you can that you remember, and then make little small talk as they settle in. Where are you visiting us from? Where did you dive in from? How's the planning going? Where else have you visited? And your attire should definitely reflect the brand. So if you have something that's more modern, dressing like more modern would be fantastic. If you've rustic, try to have a little bit of a rustic attitude in your attire. Traditional, be a little bit more formal. We're going to take a little segue in this presentation to talk a little bit about the why behind the buy. This is a sort of a mini presentation within a presentation about the psychology of selling to couples. And I believe in the 5 C's when it comes to why couples purchase. There are 3 emotional purchases for couples in their planning process. The venue is one, the photographer is another, and the dress is the third. And these are the ones that you can really tap into those emotions, and they're less rational about pricing and logistics than they are for things like, bar packages or DJ or that sort of thing. So let's talk about those 5 C's. First, you want to capture your brand. Try to envision your brand as a person, if they were a person. What kind of clothes do they wear? What kind of travel do they do? What kind of books do they read? If you figure out how to encapsulate your brand as a person, it's easy to create that communication all throughout your social media, email, phone, voicemail. And that way, that consistent brand messaging helps distinguish you amongst the sea of venues. You also want to make sure that, your site tour consult appointment setting is easy, like we mentioned. Your attire is on point. Distinct style is important. Making sure that they have special parking spots when they arrive for a site tour. Your marketing collateral is put together. And then when they tour, they own the space, which we'll talk a little bit more about. Connections, the next C. Couples, like I was saying, is making emotional purchases. So they're looking for omens, signs. They want to hire you. So even if you're making those personal connections and they feel thin, they feel like a stretch, those are the things that couples are looking for. I've been hired as a wedding planner because I had the right purse that happened to be a pattern that was in the wedding, or I went to a church that their aunt went to, or even the most remote connections that you can connect to with the couples, they feel like it's a sign. And that's the reason that they're looking for those omens, those signs. So if you notice anything when you read the couple, they mention anything during their preliminary worksheet, like, oh, we went to this school, we enjoyed this thing, we got engaged at this place. Even if you feel like it's a stretch, like, oh, I've always wanted to go to Paris, tell me about it more. That emotional connection is like, wow, this person is meant for me, and they're looking for that. So try to practice learning to read your couples and sharing those personal details with them in order to connect. The next 2 are communication and customization. So for communication, you need to be a single tasker. Very hard in today's world, but very important. Trying to be the absolute best listener, taking notes, listening first. Remember, we want to be a yes venue, and that's something we're going to talk a little bit more about as well. Be a great question asker and be comfortable with your client's preferred communication channel, right? So this generation really doesn't generally like talking on the phone. So make sure that you're comfortable working in text and email, wherever it is that they feel comfortable in. For customization, this whole presentation is about how to customize your venue to every couple. So allowing them to make your venue or company theirs is really important. And I'll tell you about why. You're going to learn information about them in the preliminary worksheet that you're going to apply to your venue during the site tour, and communicate your vision for their wedding based on what they tell you through clarity. If that's images from previous events, sketches, tangibility, this is a very tangible generation. So making sure that you are able to communicate that correctly is really important, and showing your clients ideas. They want to see that visual proof. The last one's cuddle. I know it's silly, but empathy is very important in our industry. Couples want a wedding best friend, and you need to be able to bring that enthusiasm, that cheerleading to every single site tour and every single wedding. And if you feel like you're not the right person on the team to do that, hire someone who is, because they'll be way better at the sales than you will, because they'll be able to bring that authentic enthusiasm to those events. So emotion is everything. Being direct does not have a place. If they say something during the site tour, which you don't allow at your venue, you're going to go ahead and suggest 2 other options for them that you think might work better at the venue before you break the news, like, we actually don't allow that. And then closing is actually very soft in the venue world, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But again, everything is very emotional for them. So having that cuddle is important. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the preliminary worksheet. This is a sheet that we have printed out on a clipboard for every site tour that we have, and we have them customized for each of the venues that we manage. Now, this is not the order in which, oh, if you buy my book, I should say, there's a resources section that gives you sample templates of preliminary worksheets that you can download and customize for your venue. Anyway, the preliminary worksheet is an important series of questions where you get to genuinely get to know your couple, and you're going to use that information to sell your venue back to them. This is not the order in which you want to ask these questions. You want to make it more organic, but I've broken it up on this slide so you can see what the functionality of those items are. So first, you want to get them very comfortable, asking their name, details of like how to spell their name, contact information. And then one of the very first questions you want to ask is, tell us about your love story. How'd you meet? How'd you get engaged? And I know that seems a little bit silly to just start off with that, but it is really just kind of, having them shake off the drive, getting used to talking about themselves. And I guarantee if you use these tactics and these methods, there are very few venues who even take the time to get to know the couples on the site tour. I know that sounds really sad, but they don't. And so if you welcome them in, you really are like, have a refreshment, have a cookie, let's talk about your love story. Already, you're heads and tails above everybody else in your market. So spend that time to get to know them, ask them about their colors or themes. How'd you hear about our venue? And what's your preferred contact method? Those are all just getting them comfortable talking to you. Then these questions are going to be about applying your venue to their dream. What do you want your ceremony to look like? Have you drafted your guest list yet? Do you have an estimate? Are you having a wedding party? These are elements that you can use on the site tour. Like, oh my gosh, I remember you mentioned that you're having 8 bridesmaids. Look at how big our getting ready suite is. This is so easy for such a large wedding party. And so customizing that tour for them is really applicable. In the same manner, if you say, I know you mentioned you weren't having a wedding party, but all the female wedding party can get ready here, or guys and girls, or whatever you prefer in this space, and it will feel really intimate here, so that you can use the right language to customize your venue to their wedding. The most important factors, what we like to call the pain points on the preliminary worksheet, are things like, what are you looking forward to the most about your wedding? What would make your wedding successful in your eyes? Are there any concerns that we can help you with? Oh my gosh, can you imagine going to a venue site tour and you ask them if there's anything they're stressed about right off the bat? It just shows that genuine care and concern, that you empathize and understand how stressful wedding planning is. And so you're asking right away, hey, we would love to help you, and we share your concerns. We want to make sure that you're comfortable. And absolutely do not talk about dates until after the tour. If they push you during the initial preliminary worksheet, just say, let's just take a peek at the venue first, and then I'll pull up the calendar when we're done, if that's all right with you. And honestly, nobody objects to that. Okay, it's tour time. So you go on the actual tour. If it's at all possible, please try to flow through the venue in a similar manner as the day progresses, only if it's possible. So if you can start with the getting ready spaces, move on to the ceremony site options, onto the cocktail hour, reception, after party, in that flow, that's ideal. But if your venue is not laid out that way, totally fine, just an idea. Try silly jokes, make the tour your own, and see if they laugh. If they take themselves too seriously, might be a red flag for you. Walk into a room in each space, describe the room, but then step to the side so that they walk into the room, they own the space. This makes them feel like it's their space and that you're not between them and the venue. It's you, and it's you just guiding them to their wedding venue, right? Share as much history and authenticity as possible. The current market wants a story. I know it's tough if you've built a venue from scratch and it doesn't have a history, but you can create that brand, that authenticity, if you lean far enough into that capability. So reach out to me if I can help you with that. Anyway, apply all that you've learned in the preliminary worksheet to every room that you speak to on the venue tour, and say yes as much as you possibly can. No one wants to hire a no venue. Please, 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 if you're watching this video, do not be the venue where the couple shows up, you ask them nothing, you hand them a packet, you tell them everything they can't do, and send them on your way, and then be shocked when you're only booking 30% of your site tours. That's why. You need to be a yes venue. Say yes as much as you possibly can. Even if you can't say yes, you need to present other options to them that will work well for their wedding if it's something that they want to do that you don't allow. Now we go back to the original room that we were in where the refreshments are. We refresh everyone's drinks for them again. And we start with easy questions like, what were your first impressions? What additional questions do you have for me? We're going to review the brochure together, talk about pricing inclusions. bring your strongest sales point here to the pain points that they have, to their most important factors. Now, this is when we start to sell. Can I check available dates for you? That's your toughest question, right? And then when you find dates that they might find interesting, can I send a proposal to you? That is the easiest contract close. That soft close is obviously the easiest, giving them 24 to 48 hours to sign the contract. Some of our venues allow up to a week. But if you need to close some contracts in quickly, offering a promotion to sign on site is a fantastic way to do that. Try to start with promotions that don't cost you much to do. For most venues, that's upgrades. So if you offer a big upgrade menu, typically those are things that you own. And so offering them $500 or $1,000 worth of upgrades doesn't cost you, I don't know, maybe an hour or two in labor. And so those are the most, but they're very beneficial to the couple. You can offer dollars off, but I don't recommend starting with that because it does discount the value of your venue. I generally like to offer them something that only your venue can provide. The hard close, like that's what we consider a hard close, trying to get them to sign on the spot. And you have to have a promotion attached to that. When we do the soft close, we always say, hey, let me send you a proposal. This is just a complimentary hold on the date for a week while you ponder. I can't book it for someone else. It's very nice. Then we've got the follow-up. So in Bloom, the software we use, we drop them right into a new lead management funnel that sends them emails and text messages every day for a week after they have a proposal pending for each of the venues that we manage. And they're all customized, of course. So they include pictures from the team, a video message from the owners. Thank you so much for considering our venue. We'd be honored to be your wedding venue. Often there's a legal review video so they can walk through the contract on a legal review. Really easy again. Oh, I did forget to mention in my intro, I'm actually an attorney as well. I'm licensed with the District of Columbia, and I can help with creating custom legal defensible contracts. So if you need help with that as well, I typically record the legal videos for my clients that I've drafted the legal video for, so that they can, if you have a good defensible legal contract, it's a sales tool. Right, if it's well done, then you want to make sure that even sometimes your site tour guide can, or site tour manager can send a custom video for clients or take pictures of them or videos on the tour that you can share. And then congratulations, you have a brand new signed wedding. I guarantee that if you use these methods, it will increase the volume of your site tour bookings, because your bookings and your closings at your site tours and after your site tours, because you will be the venue that suddenly is so customized for them they can't resist but booking you, and you also show genuine excitement about their wedding, and that is just heads and tails above everybody else and whatever else is going on in the marketplace. The secret to this is just really practice, trying new jokes, new flows of tours, new ways to highlight your venue, and your features to win. And then you want to analyze your success through conversion rates. So do this for me before you start implementing these tactics. Take your quantity of contracts divided by your quantity of site tours. That's your conversion rate. And then do this for 3 months and then try it again. I guarantee it'll be a much higher conversion rate that you'll have. If you send a venue gift, do that within 30 days of signing and include a handwritten note. We do that at Maison, and some of our venues do that as well. So again, my name is Kerri Glover. This is an excerpt from The Business of Love, How to Build and Operate a Successful Wedding Venue, which is available on Amazon. You can reach me at hello@nowweflourish, nowweflourish.com or weddingvenuebroker.com if you have any follow-up questions or anything that I can assist you with additionally, or if you need legal work as well, or you have a venue to sell. So thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck on the site tours, and I hope you enjoy all of your new couples.